I want to share with you some quick learnings from core gamification stuff that you can take and apply to your experience. If you're thinking about gamification, bring that with you to the workshops with us so you can, we can work on your problems together. So let's start with the first one. Here are 3 perfect takeaway bullets about point systems, okay? The first one is the most important point system is an experience point system, XP system, not redeemable points. If when I say, and I know this is tough at the Virtual Good Summit, but hear me out. If I say point system and you say redeemable, I'm going to turn my back and walk away from you. Redeemable points should not be the first point system that you think about when architecting for gamification. The first one is an experience point system. Redeemable points have all kinds of problems, from legal and regulatory risk to the fact that if you put up a redeemable point system to a user that doesn't have good redemption options, they'll walk away from your system often. Experience points are the core type of point system that you need to drive user behavior and need to be the start of your architecture. Number 2, reputation is and you can find out more about XP online or at the workshop. Number 2, reputation systems really matter. If you are doing an experience where you have users interacting with each other and some trust is necessary, a reputational point system is critical for your experience. And number 3, and this is probably the most important bullet, so it probably should have come first, instead of putting the Keanu Reeves up there, I could have put some more information about this last point. But I did manage to work Keanu in, so I'm good. Which is, your priorities need to come first. The simple exercise I always do with everybody when I talk about gamification is I make a list of all the things that you want users to do, you want end users to do. Just make a list. Upload a profile, put in a photo, invite some friends, and assign a point value to that. Don't worry about whether or not the end user is going to see that point system or not. That's not what's relevant. All that matters is that you know what your priorities are and you prioritize accordingly. 2, badges. Let me summarize this by saying, yes, it's a fun use of German word. Let me summarize this by saying that just because you think badge systems suck, that you've seen so far, does not mean all badge systems suck, okay? Just because Foursquare is no longer interesting to you doesn't mean that badges don't work. I guarantee you that the letter in front of the number on a Mercedes car is very important to people who own Mercedes. That letter means a lot. That letter is a badge. Make no mistake. Badges matter. They just have to be good. And there's a big distinction between those 2 things. And design fundamentally matters. And much like, to the first bullet, much like, if a tree falls in the forest and no one's around, I never know where that question is supposed to end, but that's enough to imply the underlying existential query. Social badges are more important when there's social proof for them. So when other people can see the badge is more valuable. But it doesn't mean that badges are only valuable if other people see them. Badges are frequently just valuable because they're fun or engaging or look good, right? Users are frequently engaged with badges, even if they're not, being tweeted or shown on the social graph. Leaderboards, as I mentioned already earlier, you are not normal. You may be normal in some ways, but I guarantee you, just by being motivated enough actually to come to this conference, you are more motivated than 85% of the American population. And so you're already probably more achievement-oriented, and so your vision of how a leaderboard should be designed, so it's competitive and people are going to compete about all kinds of stuff, that's not always the case. In fact, the vast majority of people, it's not motivating at all, right? The design of a leaderboard has evolved. So a simple design you could use for a leaderboard right now, this is how we do a good social leaderboard. You show the user in the middle, right? You show them in the middle, wherever they are, they're number 8,475. You show them in the middle, and you show them 2 friends that are better and 2 friends that are worse, and a little dialogue bubble that says what the user needs to do in order to beat Susan. That's the prevailing design for a leaderboard. That is the superior design to the old, like, walking up to the cabinet in the arcade and seeing the, 400 million point score that could be demotivating, right? So, user in the middle, social graph, people above, people below, instruction for how to achieve. That is the correct design for a leaderboard. That was pretty didactic, but that is the correct design. Socializing matters around leaderboards. So, in many cases, you want to actually, engage users in a discussion about leaderboards. And I highly encourage you to let users slice and dice their leaderboards however they want to, right? If you have location data, just let the user look at location-based leaderboard, and always let them look at the top 20, even if they themselves are not in the top 20. Give them the option of looking at that and track that. That person might be more achievement-oriented or might be a killer. And last but not least, leveling systems. So obviously, when I say green, gold, platinum, black, almost everybody knows what I mean, right? I mean the American Express card level systems. But how does black fit in with green, gold, and platinum? What is the connection between those things? Why did they choose black? Many things are probably going through your head right now, like, oh, it was more of a status symbol, or it was, you know, a corner case or whatever. The reality is because they could. Because they had a powerful enough status system that they could choose whatever color they wanted. And not only that, you know, there were other side benefits, like it started to get complicated, like is sapphire or, you know, are sapphires or rubies more valuable? Like, you know, had they kept the canonical level system going, it could have been very confusing for users. Like the one world status system, I still don't know like which one is better between sapphire and emerald. I'm still trying to figure that out. So, so the bottom line is a good level system is something that when you build a good social loop, a good engagement loop, you're able to control, but you have the power to do whatever you want. It's not, there is no rule set in stone for how that should be done. And for those of you who work in games, you know that level design is one of the most complicated things in games. We test level design. Often it takes months to get level design right. It's not at all, you know, what you assume. It's not a straight line of complexity. It's not an exponential curve of complexity. It's not always a step function of complexity. It's all three of those things. And it just depends on your user experience. You need to test it. And remember that what we're trying to do is keep users between a state of pure elation and total irritation. You're trying to get them right in the middle, into that state of flow. And the design of your levels matter as you move through that.